still looking at me?
Hey, what's going on, y'all? This is the inaugural episode of the Eye Test. I'm Mark. And
I'm Sean.
he's a little late on the draw, but whatever. Anyway, the Eye Test is a show where basically we're going to talk about sports, mostly football, but we'll take it into basketball and other sports where we talk about how we see things, trying to use as little analytics as possible, because we find that analytics can sometimes be deceiving, and sometimes you have to, use your eyes. So just like the old saying goes, does he pass the eye test? And that's basically what we do here. All right. So anyway, getting into it. We're going to start off with the latest news in sports because today is June 29th, 2020. So yes, we're going to start off with Cam Newton because Cam Newton is apparently the hottest trend right now, which goes over all news in football. And we'll get into that because somehow this news just kind of brings everything else down and kind of buries it a little bit. But Cam Newton signed with the New England Patriots for a 1-year deal that just says incentive laden. So incentive laden, the way that I take that, Sean, is basically, which is what I was telling someone else before, it never was about his injuries. It was literally about how much it would have cost to sign this man with the question marks. The injuries was less of a concern than the money, given the fact that he has injuries. And basically, when we don't have the particulars of this contract, so all we left to do is speculate. But basically, when I read that, I basically read that he has a minimum, probably somewhere, not exactly a veteran's minimum, but he has a lesser contract that could be profitable if he hits his incentives. And pretty much that's the New England Patriots way. We're used to seeing that because that's pretty much how Tom Brady's contracts worked his entire time in New England. That's how other Patriot players' contracts have worked in New England. Basically, you perform, that's how you get paid. Otherwise, your contract on the surface kind of looks like trash. So, and this just kind of, from what I can read from that, this kind of plays into what I was saying before, that I feel as though this is what's going on here. They just didn't want to sign him for the money, like that he was asking for originally, as giving the injuries, given not being able to test him out and stuff like that. And honestly, him being an older player, and unless you are Tom Brady, Drew Brees, or whatever, nobody's trying to pay you that much money. Unless you're the Denver Broncos, because they'll throw money at any QB simply because up until recently they couldn't draft one.
Yeah. Okay. So, the way I took it was, yes, of course, it's incentive laced freaking contract. Of course it would be. That's the way it is, the Patriot way. If the Patriots is going to be, if they're going to be the lifeline for your dying career, you better believe that you are not getting paid. Randy Moss did not get paid, bro.
No.
Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco did not get paid. You know what I mean? These players.
Forgot that he was there.
You see what I'm saying, though? I mean, these players, not only are they not going to pay you, they're telling you that you need to take this little bit of money and then you need to do everything the way that we want you to do it, or else you're just not going to be here any longer. You know what I mean? and that's the way it works. Everybody that has gotten these contracts have been short-term contracts, and they've been contracts that are seemingly less for less than what that player is perceived to be worth. So this doesn't surprise me. The with the incentives and stuff like that, I'm sure part of those incentives, part of that stuff is going to be related to how many games that he plays. There has to be. It's going to be. That's the way they do it. So performance as well, obviously. Who knows what's all in there? But this is. I think this was also a situation to where, I mean, there's a possibility that they waited. I'm a little bit surprised just because this adds expectations, right? This adds expectations to Bill Belichick because he's a guy that wants to go out there and prove that he could do it without Tom Brady. He wants to prove he could do it to anybody. He wants to prove that he is the system. All right. He had Stidham, who nobody expected anything from, so if let's say if he takes Stidham and they go 10-6 this season, even being in the god-awful division, I mean, I'm saying god-awful, but they've gotten better this past year. The Bills made the playoffs, all that, but I'm saying people would still look at it and be like, you know what? They got there. They got 10-6. They got to the playoffs. They got bounced in the first round. People would consider that a success for Bill Belichick. Now that he has Cam Newton, I think the expectations they have risen now because you have a situation where he's already been proven. He's a guy that at one point played at an MVP caliber.
Well,
so
he was an MVP.
Well, that's what I mean. Like he was an MVP. Like he played at that level. Like it wasn't something that people say, well, he kind of could maybe. No, he was an MVP. He already reached that apex. Okay. So
with that,
saying, go ahead.
Sorry, but yeah, with that being said, like that's why I look forward to this. This is why I like this signing, simply because now we get to see Bill Belichick be the GOAT that everybody, quote unquote, the GOAT, the greatest
say he is
coach there is. We get to actually see, like, go out there and prove it, because Cam, who has been often injured, whose quarterbacking has been on a downturn, maybe because of injuries, maybe not, but so now we get to see what you could do as a coach with this former MVP. Can you revitalize his career? Or can you guys rise to prominence in your crappy division with Cam Newton? And we already kind of know how it is that everything's going to lay at the feet of Cam Newton if this fails. But
I have something on that.
But hey, this is how that goes. For me personally, I'm looking at Brady. I'm looking at Belichick. I'm looking at Belichick to say, well, can you protect Cam Newton? Cam Newton likes to move. Can you adjust? A great quarterback to me is a great coach to me is a coach that can adjust to the players that he has. Cam Newton likes to move. Cam Newton does this, that, and the third. Can you adjust and protect Cam in that fashion, similar to how John Harbaugh adjusts his offense to his quarterback?
Okay.
I would like to see that. I do not respect rigid coaches. And beyond that, can you keep I would like to see Cam have a 4,500-yard season. If somehow Cam manages a 4,500-yard season, I will respect Bill Belichick on some level.
Yeah.
but if he doesn't, then okay, so what? Cam just went out there and was Cam. But what's funny? I saw a couple of memes today where they were talking about the first time Cam throws 3 interceptions, and then you had Hulk Hogan spray painting on the wall the NWA sign, but it said the N and it looked like an I. And you pretty much know, hey man, it's Boston. That's more than likely to be the
Yeah.
case. And I think
Yeah.
that's hilarious because, yeah, we know a 3-interception game is coming, and I just wonder how they're going to move after that 3-interception game, right?
Man, yeah, man, to be honest, man, like there's gonna be some people out there. You already know it's coming, man. Like you saying 3 interceptions, he might not even have to throw 3 interceptions. All he got to do is go out there and lose to. Well, I'm not gonna say the Dolphins. They always lose to the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Let him go out there and lose to the Jets, man. That'll be enough, man. That'll be enough. Like a team that they've owned for 32 straight games or whatever it is. Like he goes out there and loses to the Jets early in the season. They gonna be talking. They don't care what his stats look like in that game. They're just gonna be mad, okay? And you know, Boston does have a history, especially with sports, with that, you know, with the fans being, you know, a little overzealous to say racially insensitive things. That's me putting it nicely, but but there's a few things I wanted to touch on. So we talked about Cam Newton, right? We talked about his about expectations for his performance for the year. Me personally, I want to point out the fact that Bill Belichick had a really, really, really hard time stopping Cam Newton for his entire career. He has never been able to stop Cam Newton. Okay, never. He has a hard time just stopping mobile quarterbacks. He has historically, mobile quarterbacks have done him in over and over and over again. So to be honest with you, I would question whether or not he would know how to put together a system that benefits Cam Newton's abilities and strengths, because I mean, you would figure that if he was capable of breaking that down, then he would have found a way to stop him. But so that should be interesting, like you said, to see if they're able to create a system around him. Now with that said, Bill Belichick is known for putting players in the position to where only their strengths shine and not their weaknesses. But that 1,000% relies on the malleability of the players. Like we need you as a player to be moldable. We need you to be
it's always been
pliable.
on the player to adjust.
Yes.
And not on the coach to adjust.
Yes, it's always been about the player. If you come in, that's the reason why when Chad Johnson showed up, man, he did horrible. He came out and even said it in interviews after he had retired. He said, "Look, man, I got there. They just did everything differently. When I was in Cincinnati, they just let me improvise. They said, you're the wide receiver. If you get open, we get you the ball. Hey, Chad Johnson could go, you know, Ocho Cinco could go to the line and be like, hey, Carson Palmer, like, this is what I'm about to do." And then he'd go out there and freestyle. He wasn't allowed to freestyle at all with the Patriots. Now, they were freestyling being one of his biggest strengths as far as, you know, being a wide receiver with the kind of foot speed, agility, and, you know, and footwork that he had. Taking that away from him actually hindered him with the Patriots. So, yes, I understand for the lesser talented players, you want them to be like, yo, look, if you want to maximize your potential, we need you to just do what we say. But for guys like Chad Johnson, like, I think you're doing them a disservice by trying to squeeze them into a box. And that's what happened with the Patriots. They're trying to force them to learn something and do things exactly the same way. He's saying, yo, I broke off of these routes a little bit early because I saw the hole in the defense. You know, then I got to get back to the huddle because the ball's thrown over my head and I'm being told, look, you didn't follow that to the T. Hey, I would have been more open cutting at 12 yards instead of 15.
Right.
And so it's not about chemistry with the quarterback. It's about the system and everybody following the system to a T. So, like I said, I don't know if he hasn't really done well with players like that are outstanding players that you should tailor your offense to. That's what I'll say. Cam Newton, you're saying 4,500.
He did all right with Gronk. I mean, but
Gronk was born into that system, man.
I don't know if Gronk did any improvisation in his style of play, but as far as a personality, Gronk was right up there with the rest of those other guys. So
look, man, Gronk didn't care though. Gronk is like, yo, he's the party dude that just shows up and is like, yo, Y'all want me to run that direction? Cool. I'll catch it if you throw it to me. Like, you think Gronk was out there, like, having gripes on the field? Like, he didn't have no problem. He's just like, whatever you say, I'm just going to. So, as far as improvising goes, they did improvise. When I say they, I mean him and Tom Brady. There was plays where Tom Brady would just say, go out there. Like, in the Super Bowl in the AFC Championship game versus the Chiefs. That entire last drive was just Brady telling Gronk to get open. Yeah. But that's not Gronk improvising on his own. That's something that's like Tom Brady to say, go do it. I'm going to get you the ball, just get open. You know? So that's different. But I'm going to get off that for a second. But 4,500 yards. Cam Newton, I don't know what I'm expecting from him. I'm not going to judge his season on his stats totally. But I'll tell you this. I do expect Bill Belichick. I'm going to judge it on how they decide to use him. He has a big arm, and he likes to run. You have a team already developed around running the ball with the running back. This should be a no-brainer. You know what I mean? They should be running the ball, running some type of option plays the way that they do with Lamar, even though I understand he's not as mobile, he's not as good as he used to be. You don't even need to do it every play. Do it 2 or 3 times a game. Do some play action deep ball with Cam Newton. And since you guys like to run, it should just roll right into that, right? But the bigger thing, real quick, last point I wanted to make, because you mentioned Cam Newton getting blamed if they do bad. Right? Everything will be on his shoulders, right? My thing is this. I want to see how people react, because this year you had people that were trying to say, hey, he didn't really have the weapons. Tom Brady didn't have the weapons around him. And what did everybody say? Yo, this boy Brady fell off. He's garbage. You know what I'm saying? He's trash. He fell off. You know what I'm saying? This is what we've been waiting for. I didn't see them pick up any other weapons, Mark. So, I mean, are those people that trash Brady going to keep the same energy? Because a lot of people hate Brady. Are they going to keep the same energy with Cam? Because they probably like Cam. And on the opposite side, the people that said Tom Brady didn't have the weapons, is Cam Newton going to have that same excuse if he fails? Are those people going to give him that same out? I don't know. It's only time will tell.
Yeah, man. I mean, honestly, I think it's going to be more of the same, where people are just going to find anybody else to blame but their God, Bill Belichick. Because, and truth be told, man, there is nobody, and I truly mean this, absolutely nobody that I respect less has 11 rings. That has, you know what I'm saying? There's nobody I respect less that has as many rings as they do. Like Doug, y'all got so many rings. Like, and I don't respect y'all. Like, y'all, how many years have they been doing this? 20-something years. Like, rocking, and countless championships. Like, up until last year, I think this was for me, it's the first time that I can think off the top of my head that they haven't been to the AFC Championship. Like off the top of my head, it's like the first year that I can think off the top of my head that they haven't been to the AFC Championship in at least 5 to 6 years. And
yeah, it's been a while. I think the last time that I personally remember is when I'm trying to remember. I think Denver made it. They played like the Colts or something. It was a long time ago, man. We're talking Jake Plummer was the quarterback, yo.
And listen, anybody that's watching out there, again, we don't have the facts up, but you get what we're saying. It's been a long ass time. But I just don't remember a time that this has happened. But that's beyond the point, because the point being is I just do not respect anything about Bill Belichick, because he is flat out a cheater. Like, this takes me right into my next point, because Spygate 2.0 was the other news of the NFL this week, where they were charged $1.1 million and a third-round pick, not their only third-round pick, but a third-round pick. And for those that do not know, the New England Patriots had their third round pick and they had a compensatory third round pick. So essentially, what they were charged was $1.1 million for cheating. And for those that aren't familiar with the current scandal, since they were at a Cincinnati, well, not they, but their television crew was at a Cincinnati game, and they were filming the Cincinnati sideline.
They were filming a documentary, Mark. They were filming a documentary. Look, you know what? Never mind. Go ahead, finish.
No. They were filming the Cincinnati sideline, and when they were caught, they said, "How about we just delete this and pretend it never happened?" Of course, because Bill Belichick wasn't there, and these were just random guys, Bill kind of had plausible deniability in this situation. But given how he has old cases, like Spygate 1.0 and Deflategate, you kind of like, no, Bill, there's a lot of stink on you. And I just don't like this dude. And so before I go in, Sean, I'm going to just let you lead this one after, I laid the groundwork so everybody knows what's going on.
Man.
You let them know, man, how you feel.
All right. Well, you understand how I feel. I might not feel as passionately as you do about Bill Belichick personally, but I do feel just as passionate about the people that apparently just turn a blind eye to what's been happening, man. This is so ridiculous. So Spygate 2, what a coincidence. The news comes out right at the same time that Cam Newton gets signed. Patriots, let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it a buck, man. A team that one of the only teams in the NFL that we thought would definitely be the last to take on a black quarterback. They happen to take on essentially the black quarterback outside
in
of Kaepernick.
This climate. The only way they could have did it any differently would have been to take on Colin Kaepernick. That's the only way it would have been any higher.
Like they take on Cam Newton right now with everything that's going on. Have the Spygate 2.0 punishments handed down, and somehow within the same hour that Cam Newton is signed and all the details of his stuff comes out. And you know what, Mark? This is what disappoints me. But this is why we're here right now, man. I've watched all the shows today. All they talked about was Cam Newton getting signed. Nobody talked about the punishment.
Buried the lead, fam. Buried the lead.
These people is trying to bury the footage, man. So with that said, they like I said, I told you, we talked about this. I was like, I feel like they're getting punished less than they did from the first time. So I looked it up, and it said Bill Belichick got fined $500K for the first time. The team got fined $250K, and they took the first round pick for the next year. Somehow this time they fined the team 1.1, which, let's keep it a buck, that's nothing. And then they take a third round pick, and the most hilarious thing happened, man. Mark was like, yo, I bet you anything, if we look into it, these fools probably got a compensatory pick for the third round. I didn't want to believe it. I looked it up, fact checked it, looked at what do I see there? They got a compensatory pick for the third round and the fifth round. Wow, like magic, of course, I don't know how you get.
Because I found it. I'm sorry, but I found it very interesting that how did you land on the third round pick? It was very weird. Like, oh, we're going to take a third round. What? Like, hold on.
Out of all the picks, right? Third round.
Like, you're going to take a third round pick for the third time being
Mark?
Cheating? Like,
I know what it is, Mark. I know what it is. They've been watching the Patriots draft history. and they know the Patriots are terrible at drafting first and second rounders. There's like, you know what, they do better in the third round. Maybe we'll take a third round. I don't know. Maybe
No,
you know what I'm saying?
no.
I'm gonna do your favorite. I'm doing your favorite thing, Mark. I'm playing devil's advocate. Okay?
But this is why I tell you guys. This is why I'm going to be telling you guys all the time, yo. Does it pass the eye test? And
everything looked fugazi about the whole scenario.
Like the Cam Newton news, like I was like, oh, Cam was signed by New England, okay. But what made me like first like, hold up, something's not right. I was like, why was Cam signed now? I was like, why wasn't he signed earlier? I was like, and then I thought, well, maybe Cam finally like tucked his pride away and decided to sign for the lesser money. I was like, that's possible. But then the news was everywhere and it's that and the third, and I was like, oh, okay. And then right after the Cam news, they slide out here, hey guys, hey, here's the Patriots punishment from last year. And here we are in July. Like, I don't know if anybody else remembers any of these other things. Like, Doug, all they talked about when Sean Payton and Bountygate was Bountygate all off season. It was about Bountygate, about what was going to happen, this, that, and the third. Now,
they was trying to fry everybody.
Yeah, like I feel like everybody in sports history that has gotten caught for anything has gotten punished more than Bill Belichick has, or than the New England Patriots has in this particular go-round.
Let me put it this way, before you even go any further, Mark, just to throw this out there as a test. How many people that you've seen that have got punished for cheating, how many people have been repeat offenders? I'm just going to ask, because I'm talking about all sports, all levels. Have you seen any repeat offenders?
Well, hold on. Whether or not there were repeat offenders, I cannot prove, but I can definitely tell you that they didn't get caught again.
Okay, so repeat offenders that keep getting caught. There's only one guy.
Who's magically the greatest coach ever. Hey, maybe he's the greatest coach ever because he cheats. I don't know, man.
That's a strange idea, man. I
mean,
don't know.
It's a strange idea, dog. If I was hiding the ace of spades every game, more than likely, I'm going to win a lot of spade hands.
Yeah, and this is another thing that really upsets me about what people when found out about the Cincinnati thing. Oh, man, Cincinnati, you really tell me that Bill Belichick is trying to get film on Cincinnati? And this is, see, they look at it that way and say, why would he need to? He didn't need to deflate the balls against the Colts, but the shit was happening, right? Now forget about that. You know, them trying to, let's say they were trying to cheat against the Colts. They can beat the Colts. It's not a big deal, whatever. But the Colts were actually in the playoffs and were favored to be, they're one of the teams that people thought had a shot, right? The Bengals, right? Nobody thought the Bengals was going anywhere. You have to think to yourself, if this man is willing to cheat against the Bengals, that man is willing to cheat against anybody. There is nobody that's off limits. He's not just cheating against good teams. This man is cheating against the Bengals. He must be cheating against the Browns. Like, come on, man. If he's cheating against the Bengals, he's cheating against everybody, yo. That's what I say. That's what I stand by. I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, look, man. The way I feel about that is, yes, he's most certainly cheating against everybody. It's just that he's only getting caught against these particular people, or whenever he happens to get caught. Yo, it's the same way with your kids, man. Like, oh, do I think that, like, I caught you with candy today, sneaking it in your bedroom? Do I think that today was the first time that you magically decided to sneak candy and I just magically caught you the first time? No,
Maybe you got
I'm
lucky,
pretty
Mark.
sure if I look behind your bed, I'm gonna see a bunch of candy wrappers from all the different times that you did it before. Like,
Yeah.
so like it's just one of those things, man. Like I don't like that guy. They do all types of shady shit in New England, and they get away with it. Like I mentioned before to you, and this is new to everyone else. Like Pete Rose, and this is in baseball, but Pete Rose wasn't even betting on his own teams, at least as far as what was
Approved.
discovered.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
was discovered was he was betting on teams that he had no control over the outcomes of. And he's banned for life. He's still banned today. Like he's
Yo, they just started letting them show up for All-Star games, bro. Like 2
exactly
years ago. Like, what we talking about, man?
exactly. Pete
Yeah,
Rose is
man.
still banned now. So what do people expect? Like like I don't know how they'll get away with this. Sean Payton for Bountygate, which is more or less it's a form of cheating in the sense of that you're going out there to particularly to hurt particular players. Like you're putting player safety in danger. And they were heavily fined, and Sean Payton was suspended for an entire year of football. Like for an
Yeah.
entire year of football. And yet somehow Bill, Magic Bill, he got away with Spygate. He got away with Deflategate. Now, what was crazy to me about Deflategate is the fact that the NFL, that Joe was such a slam dunk for the NFL that they just messed it all up. It's like if I caught somebody and I knew they had drugs in their house, and if I was a cop, I knew they had drugs in their house. I just went and banged and I kicked down their door and arrested them, and I saw the drugs everywhere. But yo, I need the warrant first. If I don't
Yeah.
have the warrant, everything's going to get thrown out. That's pretty much how I see Deflategate. They was like, oh, this is such a slam dunk. We caught him red-handed. Nobody's going to question this. But then they flubbed the whole science and research of it. So it was like, nah, throw that all out. Because, fam, they was cheating this whole time, bro. They was cheating.
Yo,
They was cheating that whole time, and
look,
they finally
Mark,
got for that.
you've played football. I've played football. Dog, do you know how deflated a ball has to be? A football, mind you, to be for a defensive player to be running after an interception and be like, man, that shit kind of feels funny. Like that,
Yeah.
like you're not like it had like that's noticeable, man. Like if it was just a little bit, like whatever, man, it is what it is. But if the dude felt like he was gripping a kickball, like like there's got to be something wrong with it, man. Like he did, like they didn't get caught on film or somebody literally catching them in the act. Like they got caught because the dude felt how soft the ball was. Like let's keep it. Like I don't care what you say. Like oh, it's not that noticeable or this much film. It don't make that much of a difference. Then how did y'all get caught?
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
you can talk to me till you blue in the face about all the sciences and all this shit.
Yeah.
But hey, why did Brady smash his phone, fam?
Hey, he tried to flush the drugs out of the toilet, Mark. he tried to swallow the coke, man. Like,
Why
look.
yo, and like 100%, like if you ask me, I think that whole Deflategate situation was the whole reason why Brady and Belichick fell out. Like you didn't hear all this talk about like, oh, Jimmy, he trying to get Jimmy Garoppolo in there, this, that, and the third. You ain't hear none of that until Deflategate. And that's because, hey, Brady couldn't hold his water. Brady smashed his phone. He was like, ah, damn it. Look at you, bro.
But not only that, you got to think. I didn't think of this earlier, Mark, but during that time, remember, like Bill Belichick never really says anything about anything. The original Spygate, he really didn't say nothing. You know, it was just, hey, look, I'm here to play football, whatever. You know what I'm saying? He really didn't say nothing about it. Do you remember how quick that man came out in a press conference and said he didn't know nothing about nothing. He said, I don't even touch the balls. Look, we got a quarterback, we got a ball crew. Like, he ain't exactly throw him under the bus, but he definitely stepped out of the way. He was like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and step out of the lane here real quick. If you want to ask somebody, ask the quarterback. He touches the balls all the time. I don't know what's going on. Like, I've never seen Bill Belichick come out in a press conference and be so direct and clear with something that he was saying about an accusation, bro. He came out and flat out was like, I ain't got nothing to do with nothing. And then he was like, balls in your court, Brady. And then Brady get up there, start fumbling with his words and stuff. And I don't know, whatever, man. Like, he definitely, maybe it was, I think it was like, maybe that was a test, or maybe he already knew that he was going to flub it up, man. He was just like, Brady could talk to you. Brady went up there, talked. Brady smashed a cell phone. Like, I don't, like, Brady had a dude in his phone called under the name, the deflator, bro. Like, look, man, that's the dude that's in the convenience store with you, guns out, everybody got ski mask on, and be like, Dave, I don't think that's a good idea. Like, why are you saying my name? Like, that's Brady. That's what happened, And let me tell you, if that type of situation happens to you, whether it's you in school and y'all did some shit and then one person in the crew said a little bit too much and gave off too many hits, like, everybody knows what happens to that person. You just don't fuck with them anymore like that. Like, that's, like, I do not think this was an accident that all of a sudden Tom Brady and Bill Belichick ain't cool. He's like, man, I thought you was with the life. I thought you was with the shits. Clearly you can't hold water. Look, man, this ain't going to work. We're not going to stop cheating. This ain't going to work if you're going to fold like this.
Yeah. Bill said after he saw Brady do that shit, he was like, oh. He pulled out his banana and was like, I don't like that shit. I don't like that shit at all.
But even think about this. The Patriots have been a next man up organization for years. They'll have a dude that had been on a roster for the past 3 seasons that you never heard of. And as soon as somebody goes down, that dude shows up and he balls out, You mean to tell me all of a sudden Deflategate happens, Tom Brady spills the beans, he breaks the cell phone, he's just out here looking like a goofy, right? Then all of a sudden they have a falling out, and then all of a sudden you're telling me that we don't have any guys next up anymore. What happened this past season? There was nobody next up. You didn't have everybody knew that Gronk was talking about retirement for 2 seasons. Didn't have nobody, didn't draft nobody, didn't go get nobody. All of a sudden they don't know how to manage the cap. Like, come on, man. That shit sound like sabotage to me, Mark. I don't know.
Hey, man. Bill's going to get his way one way or the other, as we can see, because
he's a cold motherfucker. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. That's where we are, dog. I've never seen anybody get to be called great and have this much stink around them for pretty much their entire career as a Patriots head coach. And we saw what his coaching looked like for Cleveland. So, and I felt as though that could have been prior to the cheating. Maybe that's the real Bill Belichick, was the Cleveland head coach, and not and like he was like, well, I want to win, gotta start cheating in a different way. And let's not forget about all the other times where it couldn't have been proven, but it was like people were speculating where, like, do you remember before where, like, the audio from the walkie-talkies, like, you could hit, like, magically the Patriots could hear the other team's audio in the walkie-talkie?
Let me help you out on this one, Mark, because this is a really strange one for me, man. So it was one of the years, I still remember this was one of the years they would go to the Super Bowl, whatever. I can't remember if it was the year they lost or one. I don't remember. I just remember the very first game of the season they played the Steelers, right? Mm-hmm. So they played the Steelers. They're in a game. Partway through the game, the Steelers lose their communication for the handsets and their iPads, right? Everything goes down. All the communication goes down. of course, people are like, well, their stuff is down, and then the announcers start talking about it later, like, well, the Patriots stuff still works. It's kind of weird. We're in Pittsburgh, and there's like, yo, do they cut theirs off or not? And they said no because the rules state that if it happens to the opposing team, because it's the home team's equipment, the home team has to shut it off, has to shut theirs off. But because it happened to the home team, the opposing, the visiting team gets to keep the iPads on. Just so happens that rule exists, right? That nobody knew about. That just so happens to benefit the Patriots in this particular moment. And remember, this is when the Steelers.
This was a pretty big deal.
When the Steelers. This is when Ben was out there throwing for 4,500 yards and 40+ touchdowns. That was that Steelers team. Like, come on, man. There's way too many coincidences. There's way too many convenient coincidences around this team, man.
Remember, like several times people were like, yeah, there was a drone flying over our practices right before they were supposed to play Patriots games and shit.
Do you remember the Super Bowl? The week leading up to the Super Bowl, where all of a sudden, Kyle Shanahan's backpack disappeared. Like, that shit went missing, and then all of a sudden it showed up like at the end of the night, like, or the next morning or whatever. Like, it just magically appeared back, and it was like, well, I mean, the plate was still in here. Like, nobody's taking anything out of it. So somebody stole the backpack, right?
Yeah, I swear to God.
They stole the backpack, but they returned it and kept everything in it.
I swear to God, Bill Belichick is the Davy Ocean of the NFL. Like, yo, he be pulling off full scale Ocean 11 heist every season.
Yo,
and somehow gets away with it. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yo, but when you were talking about Bill Belichick and Tom Brady and their fractured relationship, man, I promise you, the scene that played in my head was Nino Brown and G Money on the rooftop. You know what I'm saying? And what we just witnessed this past year was the final scene. You know, am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am. The little tear go down his eye, but he shoots him, right? Like that, like Bill Belichick, like, yo, I love you, but not more than this shit right here. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, like straight up, like, yo, if you gonna ruin what I got, this dynasty that I built, then you gotta go, bro. Like, that's as simple as that. Like, that's what I thought of. I was like, yo, if you really think about that movie, yo, like, Nino Brown treated G Money like shit the whole time, yo.
Facts. But yeah, man, I don't know. We can wrap this up soon, but I just don't get it. Like, there's so many different things that lead to the evidence that Bill Belichick is not exactly who everyone says he is. And like, getting back to how he somehow gets away with it, because this is partly on the public as well. Like, because the Astros essentially did their own version of Spygate, where they were watching the pitch count and slamming on trash cans to alert the hitter as to what was going on in the pitching, what type of pitch he was about to throw.
Hey, that shit was out there looking like the Stomp musical, dog. Like,
yeah.
Like, they was out there banging on trash cans looking ridiculous. Like, I guess that's weird, man. That's just a weird ass team. Oh, look at, man, he knocked that out of the park. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So essentially what ends up happening there, everybody loses their shit about it. Like, now everybody hates it. Everybody hates the idea of it. They basically every other baseball team was basically trying to knock Astro players' heads off during the pitches. You have even LeBron James coming out and saying how the Astros cheated, this, that, and the third. This is a disgrace, blah, 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 blah. But I find it very weird that he did that, saying how, I mean, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure I've seen him speak to the greatness of Bill Belichick once or twice in the past.
He has.
And so, like, oh, you speak to the greatness of this cheater, but those cheaters over there, you condemn their soul. Like, I don't understand how the public allows this. How, like, I get it for people in Boston because you're going to ride for your team, but like, how people outside of that don't just be like, nah, I'm not riding with that. That's trash. This team is trash. Like, I don't get that, man. And like something like you said, it brings into question a lot of things. Like, although I do not agree with what Seattle Seahawks chose to do on the 1 yard line,
Yeah.
like, although I do not agree with that play at all, I will say this. Malcolm Butler jumped the hell out of that route.
And tell me that wasn't the quickest uh, snap, the quickest release. Like, he didn't even do a 3-step drop, yo. He caught the ball, he took 1 step back, and he gunned that mug, right? Somehow, like Malcolm, he jumped it so fast that he essentially beat the wide receiver to the spot. Like, he shoulder bumped wide receiver on the way to the spot and was already standing in front of the wide receiver by the time he caught it. Like I don't like, man. And then, like I said, the most telling thing to me is Malcolm Butler says, "Hey, man, we practiced this. We practiced against this play. Didn't know if we was going to see it or not. Didn't know. Bill Belichick just had us practicing this play, and lo and behold, I just happened to be the guy that was in that spot that was practicing it that way, and it happened. So I recognized it from practice. I just went and jumped the route. Like, why would he be specifically having them practice against that play? They even came out and said that they only used that play 2 or 3 times during the season. It doesn't make sense, man. Coincidence, I guess. Maybe it's just attention to detail, Mark. The type of attention to detail that only applies to game planning, but does not apply to knowing whether or not people are inflating and deflating balls, and all of a sudden you don't know the stat.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. Hold on a second. Hold on. Carnell, what do you need? All right, just go back to bed and I'll be down there in a minute. What's up?
All right. We're going to be wrapping this up with this statement, with these couple of statements here. But I'm going to punch back in right now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, with that, I also believe that there was a little situation. I have to look it up, but I believe there was a little situation even before the second Eagles Patriots Super Bowl. There was a situation before that, but somehow the Eagles pulled it off, made it happen, and we did our thing and got that dub. So, hey, all well that ends well, but listen, there's just always stink around that guy, and I don't respect him. Like, yo, once you cheat in the sport, I pretty much just write you off for the most part. The only person that in any particular sport that has cheated, and I just do not write him off, at least in this sport, is John Jones, and that's because his skill is just his skill is undeniable. Like, I know what steroids and testosterone drugs can do for you. Still doesn't change the fact of how he does it in the ring. So,
yeah, and now just to add on that, like, later in his career, Anderson Silva was tested dirty too, but
yeah,
I don't think anybody questions his success either. So
yeah. So that's all that is to that. But hey, that could be a topic for a different conversation some other time. But with that said, we're going to end it here. Thanks everybody for listening or watching. I'm Mark.
Sean.
And listen, this is the eye test. We're only going to get better with time. Please like, subscribe, do whatever you're going to do. Um, we're just here for y'all entertainment, man. Um, Football is our first love, basketball is second, everything else third. Anyway, you guys have a good night.
All right.